Hello? I'm just waiting for people to show up. This looks really laggy on my end. Hello! Welcome to the stream. I'm going to be reading this. Yes, this is a real book. No, I don't really know why I have it, but my uncle gave it to me one day, and I looked through it a little bit, and it's pretty funny. I don't know what all it's going to contain, but I am here to show you and share with you this lovely, this lovely, just art. It's art. This lovely work of art. Is it laggy on your guys' end? Am I lagging? Because it's really lagging on my end. Like, it looks like my hand's all blurry. Is it clear? No, it's all clear. Alright. Good. So let's begin. Don't ask me what the cover title is supposed to be. History of Farting by Dr. Benjamin Bart. Benjamin Bart, why did you write this? The preface. Table of contents. Alright. Probably shouldn't be a whole lot of pages. I might split this up into chunks too. Chapter 1. Introducing the Fart. The Macquarie Dictionary. Fart. This is like a definition. An emission of An emission of wind from the anus, especially an audible one. Well, we're off to a great start, aren't we? 2. A foolish or ineffectual person. 3. To emit wind from the anus. 4. To behave stupidly or waste time. And there's a bunch of weird words after that. There's a picture I'll show you guys. Just like how we did it in kindergarten, you know? The teacher reads it and shows you a picture. That's what I'm gonna do. Alright. Everyone farts, admit it or not. Kings fart, queens fart. Edward Lear, the 19th century English landscape painter, wrote affectionately of a favorite farting duchess who gave enormous dinner parties attended by the cream of society. One night she let out a ripper, and quick as a flash, she turned her gaze to her stoic butler, standing, as always, behind her. "Hawkins!" she cried. "Hawkins, stop that!" "Certainly, your grace," he replied with unhurried dignity. "Which way did it go?" St. Augustine claims to have seen someone in such control of his backside that he would break wind at will and follow the tone of verses spoken to him. Michael Aquim de Montaigne, I probably butchered that name, warned, "God alone knows how many times our bellies, by the refusal of one single fart, have brought us to the door of an agonizing death. May the Emperor who gave us the freedom to fart where we like also give us the power to do so." You must have a very, very high level sense of humor to understand this book. Obviously. Why do we fart? We look later at food and digestion and gastrointestinal tracts, but the bottom line is we fart because we want to. Yet this is the function of our bodies least speaken of, particularly by women. Women fart as much as men. Let's face it, But do they admit it? No, and that's a story in itself. In 1986, the well-known American fartologist... What? Fartologist? That's a real thing? Anyway, in 1986, the well-known American fartologist Dr. H.K. Poltweed carried out a survey which had some surprising results. And my phone vibrated. What now? Freaking game notification. I need to turn that down. That probably just sounded like an explosion in your face. Alright. We good? Alright. Lost my train of thought. In 1986, the well-known American fartologist Dr. H.K. Poltweed carried out a survey which had some surprising results. To begin with, it showed that 97.7% of men admit to farting, but only 1% of women do. But 100% of women, when asked if they had just farted, lied. Here's a table of Dr. Poltweed's findings. Not sure if you could see that clearly. It looks really blurry on my end. Just let that sit there for a while. Of course, women fart, although some better than others, and many of their flatulent deeds have been recorded in the famous limericks of Old England, spelled with E's at the end, so you know it's fancy. Ooh, looks like we got some poems. At a contest for farting in Butte, one lady's excursion was cute. It won the diploma for fetid aroma, and 3 judges were felled by the brute. I sat by the Duchess at tea, and asked, "Do you fart when you pee?" I said with some wit, "Do you belch when you..." curse word, and I felt it was one up to me. Oh, God. I literally just turned the... I'll show you what I'm reacting to when I get to the page. In the early 19th century, the English jest book recorded the following tale. A country woman who farted a great deal wants to confess this, since she enjoys it so much she feels it must be a sin. She asks the lady of the manor, "What is a polite word for this?" And the lady, having a joke at her expense, tells her it is committing adultery. She tells the priest she wants to confess this. "At your age?" exclaims the shocked priest. "How often do you do it?" "About 30 or 40 times a day." What? I swear to God, I hope this person isn't real. What does your husband say to that? He says, "More power to your big fat butt." It doesn't really say butt, but I had to censor it. Anyway, this is what I was reacting to earlier. And the caption reads, and I quote, "The fat lady who, through cycling, might be good for her flatulence." Oh, thought. What happened to your video? What do you mean what happened? Did it end, or is it, like, laggy again? Hello? Alright, we're good? Alright. Alright, looks like we got some more poems, maybe? The venue of many a farting joke is the Gentleman's Club. Member: "I say, old chap, do you mind if I smoke?" Friend: "Not at all, old boy, if you don't mind if I fart." The video froze. Okay. Carruthers, reading The Times in his club, lets out a stinker. After a moment of chilling silence, the chap in the next chair says, "I say, Carruthers, did you just fart?" "Of course I did," comes the scornful reply. "You don't think I smell like this all the time, do you?" Bravo to this legend. Another classic takes place at the Portsmouth sail past of the fleet, where a young lieutenant drops a dozy, right in front of the brightly garlanded reviewing stand. "I say there," says the admiral, "do you know you just farted in front of my wife?" "Terribly sorry, sir," comes the unabashed reply. "I didn't realize it was her turn." "If you don't mind if I fart, that is funny." Yeah, that line was funny. It's just like, yeah, you can smoke, but yeah, I just fart. A man complaining of persistent flatulence tells a doctor that for some strange reason his farts don't stink. "As a matter of fact," he confesses, "I've just farted twice." The doctor gives the man some tablets, and within a few days, to the patient's surprise, his farts take on a familiar whiff. He returns to the surgery, where the doctor seems delighted. "Well now," he says, "we fixed your nose. Now I'll give you something for your farting." That was good. So they didn't even fix the farting yet. Oh goody, we're almost at the end of chapter 1. There's a picture. You're on the air in 10 seconds. And remember, no ers or as. And for God's sake, don't fart. I guess they're getting ready to go on TV or something. Alright. Oh, God. Chapter 2. The Song of the Fart. While farting in front one day, in the merry, merry month of May, the vicar was repelled, and we nearly were expelled for farting in the front one day. I'm going to read it as a poem because I can't sing. That's the end, anyway. The fart has provided endless entertainment for the composers of limericks and rugby songs. And of course, to the graffitists. How can you smell fart on a TV? Well, I think he's in like a live audience. Plus, you could hear the fart too, so. The fart has provided endless entertainment for the composers of limericks and rugby songs, and of course to the graffitists, and the humble authors of rhymes on dunny doors. Its range of musical tones and its concern with one of the more liberated and liberating acts of life make it a rousing and creative theme for many works of poetic art. The Farda from Sparta is as much a classic of the genre as Eskimo Nell is to another. Port Makes Me Fart is also flatulent doggerel of the very highest disorder. Then we have this picture. Harry, did you hear that? Oh shoot, I just chopped your head. My bad, bro. Hi, ew, yes, I know. It's the history of farting. Port makes me fart. Oh, God. I'm a bit of a wine dot. I love a good red, and I like to drink muscat while lying in bed. I love a fine sherry. I'll have a good snort. But there's one thing I do love, a good glass of port. This is a song. Chorus. But fart, fart, port makes me fart. I went down to Dijon to have a good time. 3 bottles of champers and 4 more of wine. I duck, grouse, and pheasant far more than I ought. And then with me custard, just 1 glass of port. That doesn't rhyme. Arsuslogist. Yep. But fart. Port makes me fart. I tried to ignore it. To pretend it weren't there. I tried to contain it and got full of air. And then I released it. It went everywhere. Fart. Port makes me fart. The moral to this tale is an ill wind blows no good. Some get the wind from Cabernet, and some from Treacle Pud. Some get the wind from radishes, or cabbages in King. But I say true flatulence, it comes from simple things. Port makes me fart. Such a beautiful song. Such a beautiful song. The origin of the limerick is unknown, but it probably wow. The origin of the limerick is unknown, but it probably derives from the chorus of an 18th century Irish soldier song, Will You Come Up to Limerick? The limerick theme was often nonsensical and frequently ribald, and farting was a popular source. The rhymingness of Sparta drove irresistible to generations of ribald limerick writers, and there are many sequels to and variations on the most famous of farting verses, the Farta from Sparta. We got another cuss word, so I'm gonna sense it. So glib with his butthole was Carter. No man with a mouth appeared smarter. What issued ethereal from that vent hole sphincterial transcended the Farta from Sparta. That's some vocab for you. You've heard of that fellow from Sparta, renowned as musician and farter. He could fart pizzicata with flute obligata and the bass of Bach's B-flat toccata. This is Sparta! Oh, you already made that joke. Well, screw me then. There was a young girl from La Plata who was widely renowned as a farta. Her deafening reports at the Argentine sports made her much in demand as a starter. There were many variations on the theme, of course, and now the bibliography of farting in the limerick is practically limitless. As a living art from the limerick continues to expand the horizons of humorous and ribald writing, and the fart is carried along in the storm. Huh. There's a picture that says, I'll stop smoking if you stop farting. It's 2 ladies, one's smoking, this one's smoking, and that one's evidently farting. It's just like, I'll stop smoking if you stop farting. Well, buddy boo, I guess you're never gonna stop smoking. Because farts go on for all eternity. There was a young lady from Bristol who went to the palace called Crystal. She said, it's all glass and as round as my butt. And she farted as loud as a pistol. Must be pretty loud. It takes little strain and no art to bang out an echoing fart. The reaction is hearty when you fart at a party, but the sensitive persons depart. Smoking is just farting, but it gives you cancer. True that. True that. There was an old fellow named Art who awoke with a terrible start. For down by his rump was a terrible lump of what should have just been a fart. Oh, God. He grabbed himself. Bravo! Oh, man. Wow. Dart, more like fart. Yep. Anyway, moving on. A philosopher once named Descartes was explaining himself to a tart. Since I think, I exist, he remarked as he peed. But what does it mean when I fart? Big think. A nefarious Nazi named Goebbels once loaded his anus with pobels. The slightest the slightest suspicion or hint of sedition found himself farting a broadside at Roebels. Okay, that one didn't make sense because I don't know what Goebbels and Pobels and what all that is. Picture time! Harry, did you fart Cynthia? Cynthia, of course not. It must have been Horace. Horace, thinking, the sooner I get back to the front, the better. Horace is the dog. They're blaming the fart on the dog. A phony pop artist named Hart in a jug kept a large purple fart. He said, yes, it's mine, and I think it's divine. Who are you to say it ain't art? Hey, I'm not one to speak. That's art. A purple fart? If you can fart purple and you can physically see it and trap it in a jar, you might as well be the freaking president, okay? Because that is like power there. You have some superhuman abilities. An observant old codger named Browder said, now, between bean soup and chowder, you'll find, my good friend, that bean soup, in the end, will prove to be several times louder. Why would you blame the dog? So you'd make yourself look innocent. Because at that time, it's just like, oh, you fart? Ha ha, look at you. If you blame the dog, they blame the dog, and the dog can't fight back. Poor doggy. Whew. Said a gaseous old laddie named Carter, well known as a heck of a farter. It's that bad sauerkraut that I've eaten, no doubt. So here goes a blast for a starter. Oh man, I just spat all my... Speaking of doggy, my pupper is here. Hey, pupper! A crafty old bugler from Reims would feast upon rum chocolate creams, then fart a toccata or a Mozart sonata on 17th century themes. These are some very, colonial things, like old ones. Sir Reginald Barrington Bart went to a masked ball as a fart. He had painted his face like a more private place, and his voice made the dowagers start. Really? There was a young fellow named Charted. Who names their kid Charted? Who rubbed soap on his bum when it smarted. And to his surprise, he received the grand prize for the bubbles he blew when he farted. What? So he put soap on his behind, and he got a prize for farting out bubbles. Bravo. Pickpocket the gentleman. Promise not to fart, sir, and I'll put it back. See, the kid over there is trying to steal him. He's like, if you don't fart, I'll put it back. Chapter 3, Lepidamine. The greatest farter the world has ever known was host Joseph Pujol. He became famous as Lepidamine, the Toast of Paris, a remarkable performer whose unique brand of showmanship shook and shattered the famous Moulin Rouge. Jeez, oh man. Lepidamine could fart in 5 keys, and although the French regarded farting as somewhat vulgar, as they do to this day, they couldn't resist the music hall act to end all music hall acts. People were literally writhing about, wrote one theater critic of a performance of Lepidamine early in 1890. Women, stuffed in their corsets, were being carried out by nurses stationed in the hall, well displayed in their white uniforms. It certainly was an act. In the auditorium, a compere, in the auditorium, and Campari, playing up the incredulity, would climb up on the stage and announce that there was absolutely no trick, and this outstanding artist had nothing concealed in his pants. Then the enthusiasm became delirious. It's almost impossible to imagine the noise people made who wanted to shout even louder. The apoplectic faces, the streaming tears, they needed a good quarter of an hour to get their breath back. That was worded weird. The young Pujol had a normal enough childhood, but in the summer, he left school with extraordinary thing happened. He was swimming at the beach with his friends when he held his breath and put his head under water. He was astonished to find that his stomach immediately filled with cold seawater through his anus. He recalled the feat several years later when he was doing his military service, and his fellow soldiers immediately wanted to know if it would happen again. On a day's leave, he went down to the sea for the experiment, and to his astonishment, the same phenomenon took place, and for some time he amused his friends by ejecting all the water he had taken in through his rectum as a water spout. Ew. He soon found he could take in air instead of water, and his son, Louis Pujol, wrote later, he would stop breathing through his nose and mouth, take in air through his back passage, and at will blow it out again with all sorts of noise. A veritable fart fantasia. And it was he himself who thought up the name, Lepidamine. Wow, I can't talk today. Pujol took what he called his musical anus to Paris in 1892 and became an outrageous hit at the Moulin Rouge at a time when other stars of Parisian showbiz included Sarah Bernhardt, Regine, Lucien Guillory, and Yvette Guilbert. Lepidamine made more money for his appearances than any of them. He presented himself with an ease of good humor which worked beautifully on the public. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to present a session of Pedamine. The word Pedamine means someone who can break wind at will, but don't let your nose worry you. My parents ruined themselves scenting my rectum. Why though? During the initial silence, he would begin a series of small farts, naming each one. This is a little girl. This is the mother-in-law. This the bride on her wedding. This the bride on her wedding night, very little. And the morning after, very loud. This the mason, dry, no cement. This the dressmaker, tearing 2 yards of calico. This one lasted at least 10 seconds and imitated to perfection the sound of material being torn. Then a cannon. Gunners, stand by your guns. Ready, fire. The noise of thunder, etc., etc. Then, wrote young Pujol, My father would disappear for a moment behind the scenes to insert the end of a rubber tube, which is used for enemas. It was about a yard long, and he would take the other end in his fingers and in it place a cigarette which he lit. He would then smoke the cigarette as if it were in his mouth, the contraction of his muscles causing the cigarette to be drawn in, then the smoke blown out. Finally, my father removed the cigarette and blew out the smoke he had taken in. That is incredible. I need to meet this legend. He smoked a cigarette with his butt. Rescherkrom 2018. He smoked a cigarette with his butt. Quote of the year, guys. Quote of the year. We reached a new low. Give it up, man. Oh, it's not over. He then placed a little flute with 6 stops in the end of the tube and played 1 or 2 little tunes, such as Le Rôle d'Agobet and, of course, Au clair de la lune. I don't know any of those. I'm not French. From the beginning of the audition, mad laughter had come. This soon built up in the general applause. The public, and especially women, fell about laughing. They would cry from laughing. Many fainted and fell down and had to be resuscitated. So he played and smoked with his butt. Yes, he did. The feats of the great Lepidamine triggered the imagination of generations of storytellers and imitators. In the United States, it gave rise to the legend of Gustave Andre Stool, the famous farting ventriloquist who, during the late 40s and 50s, is said to have amazed audiences around the country with his ability to throw a fart across the stage and into the audience. Try that on for size. The famous story, as recorded by Travis W. Pacone, remains of his final performance at the second inauguration of Richard Nixon. Standing in the audience, some 33 meters from the stand, Stool threw a fart at the president right in the middle of the swearing in. At that moment, the Chief Justice turned to a colleague and was heard to whisper, "An ominous air hovers over this administration." Ominous indeed. Very ominous indeed. Another picture. "Maggie, where the devil are you? Fart and give me a clue." So as you can see, he's looking for Maggie, I guess his wife or kid or whatever, in a movie theater. If she farts, he'll find him. Because I guess it's a very distinct and familiar fart. Chapter 4, The Farta from Sparta. The memes are going to start rolling in here any minute. How do you throw a fart across the stage? Don't ask me. Ask, who was the dude that did it? Gustave Andre Stool. Ask him, not me. Anyway, Chapter 4. Flatulent fiends come and go, but few will forget another Penamane style flatulent fiends come and go, but few will forget another Penamane style character, a hero of generations of English rugby clubs. He is known simply as the Farta from Sparta, and he has been immortalized in the following stirring verse. There was a young fellow from Sparta, a really magnificent farter. On the strength of one bean, he'd fart God Save the Queen and Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. He could vary with proper persuasion his fart to suit any occasion. He could fart like a flute, like a lark, like a lute, this highly fartistic Caucasian. This sparkling young farter from Sparta, his fart for no money would barter. He could roar from his rear, any scene from Shakespeare, or Gilbert in Sullivan's Micawber. He'd fart a gavotte for a starter, and fizzle a fine serenata. He could play on his anus the Coriolanus, oof, boom, tum, toodle, yum, ta-da. He was great in the Christmas cantata. He could double stop fart the toccata. He'd boom from his butt, box B minor butt, censor. Actually, wait, no. He'd boom from his butt, box B minor mass, and in counterpoint, La Traviata. That was a weird one. Spurred on by a very high wager, by an envious German named Bajer. He proceeded to fart the complete oboe part of a Haydn octet in B major. His range went from classic to jazz on the tonic solfa of his butt. With a good dose of salts, he could whistle and waltz, or swing it in razzmatazz. The Far from Sparta. Funny, more rhymes. Yeah, that's clever. The Sparta meme should be rolling in any minute now. His basso profundo was rare, for he had very little to spare, but his great work of art, his fortissimo fart, he saved for the March Militaire. One day he was dared to perform the William Tell Overture Storm, but not would dishearten our talented Spartan, for his fart was in wonderful form. It went off in capital style, as he farted along with a smile. Then feeling quite jolly, he tried the finale, blowing double-stop farts all the while. The selection was tough, I admit, but it did not dismay him one bit. Then with a butt thrown aloft, he suddenly coughed and fell in a shower of poop. His bunghole was flown back to Sparta, where they buried the rest of our farter, with a gravestone of turds inscribed with the words, "To the fine art of farting, our martyr." Alright, and I will be right back. I don't know if I can pause this. Actually, I'm just going to end it. So, we'll pick up on this. What do you guys think of the book? Let me know. Do you want me to do more of it? Screw it. I'll do more of it later. But, yeah. This is... Let me ear the page. The History of Farting. Book is a wonderful work of art, as I said. I do have to kind of censor some things, so if it throws off a rhyme or something, then that's probably why. Or if there's a word I just can't pronounce and I butcher it, that's another reason why. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I will do another live stream. Yeah, my dog is barking. That's because my mom walked in through the door. I'll pick up on this another day or maybe later. See ya.